But before we jump into kind of the Bitcoin or dive in to the Bitcoin, our understanding of Bitcoin, I do want to kind of flash back. You mentioned college, and you mentioned how, we met each other in college. And so I just wanted to tell a quick story just so y'all know that even 20, 21 years ago, so many of us that knew you really knew you were going places, that you had a vision and you were ready to accomplish that vision, just like you mentioned.
Well, I don't know the story, so I'm eager to hear. Go ahead.
So I just remember one day you were in the student center and you were reading a book, and it was a very large book. And I walked in the student center and I saw you, and so I was like, "Oh, Joel, what are you reading? What class is this for?" And I remember Joel looking up at me and him saying, "Oh, I'm just reading this for fun." And it was something like computer technology, like something that really should have been a class, Joel, that you were just reading for fun. And I just remember thinking, "Wow, this guy's going places. He definitely wants to know things, understand things, and to really invest your time and energy into it." So jumping from that story into Bitcoin, just having known you for so long, you have spent an enormous amount of time investing, not only financially, but just with your, even emotionally invested in it and mentally invested in it. So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, so I have a process. I love going on these journeys of intellectual discovery. In the early years of my life, it was a million different things. At Belhaven, it was business and technology and all this sort of thing. And then it became business, starting entrepreneurship with Baumgar Corporation. Then it became politics. Then it became free private cities and private governance. And then it became Bitcoin. And on each of those journeys, which I've been on 5 to 7 in my life, and I'm only 45, in each of those journeys, I start by learning everything I can about something. Once I have a clear framework about what it is, how it works, why it's transformational, all of that, then I go read everything you can possibly find against that thing. So in the case of Bitcoin, I started by learning everything I could about Bitcoin. Then I read everything I could possibly find against Bitcoin. Every book that was anti-blockchain, anti-crypto, anti-Bitcoin, I've read them all. And all of that was intended to basically battle test my framework, to say, am I wrong about this thing? Because on each of those journeys, I've gone all in on whatever it was. I got interested in public policy and politics, and I ran for office and spent 8 years doing it. I got interested in business, and I started a company, and I spent 11 years doing it. And same with free private cities, same with numerous other things. And so with that framework, at the end of that journey, you end up with a very deep, multi-thousand-hour understanding that is battle tested, because you've been through all the ideas that are for it, you've been through all the ideas that are against it, and you have a very strong and coherent framework for what is this thing, why is it valuable, how could it go off the rails if it could go off the rails, what could go wrong, and which has resulted in me having a very high conviction level, not just for Bitcoin, but for the other things that I've gone on a journey on. On each of them, I've either spent lots of years or lots of money to impact the world in some way. And I did not want to spend either lots of years of my life or lots of my money doing something that I would later wake up and realize I was on the wrong side of the issue, or there was unintended consequences, or it didn't turn out the way I had hoped or the way I wanted. And so the best way to make sure that doesn't happen is to know everything there is to know about a subject, and then to read everything you can find against that topic. And so what I've done, and in fact, one of the most one of the points at which I bought the most Bitcoin, it was when I finished reading everything anti-Bitcoin I could find. Because when I was done with that, I was like, is that all you got? Is that seriously the best criticisms you've got on what could go wrong, or, chinks in the armor, or accusations, or, I'm like, if that's the best you got, and I didn't have anything better, I'm like, they made the most compelling case against Bitcoin you could, and it's a very weak case. And the case in favor of Bitcoin is so strong, it's just incredible.